Hi Paul, this is Paul from the Tech Model channel with my first update on the TIGER1 Tamiya 1/16 build with switcher, a buddy build switcher, and I've actually been concentrating on bits and pieces of the model, mainly cleaning up the wheels and getting them together. They've actually received a coat of Tamiya Superfine primer on the sprues. I'd actually decided, because the actual points, I've just noticed a little bit needs cleaning up in there. The points are actually on the side, so you can actually spray the wheels and get both sides with a bit of primer, and then put them together. The only thing is, I found out I was a waste of time. I might as well just built them and then sprayed them. But it's neither are there. Now the wheels are not in place permanent, and they're actually come off. I've added this is the screw that actually holds into to hold it in place. Well, what I actually did is also, just to talk about that bits here, is I think you can see the brass barrel there, just here. That is made up from the Alba set, which is 16L-08, and there it is. And if I do that, I think it'll give you an idea. Whoops, gives you an idea of how many pieces. There was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 pieces to go together there on that. And the only thing I haven't got to do is I've got to put a little photo etch bolt on the top of a little bit you put on there. Now this was all soldered together. I didn't use super glue. What I will say to you is when I finished doing it, I cleaned up the outside, which is reasonably easy to do because the outside's always. But I couldn't get inside where the actual inside the baffle inside, and also the photo etched the actual brass rifling that you can see just inside the barrel there. You might not be able to see it, but it is in there. I couldn't get in to clean it, and it was all black and dirty. So what I used a sonic cleaner. I put it in my sonic cleaner for about 9 to 10 minutes, and basically it just cleaned all the little bits and black that was off it, and I got back to a brass barrel. So it's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It's actually done, all soldered, and it's strong, and I think it's worse. And I used a kit barrel, as you may know. I did have a metal one, but I thought, well, at the end of the day, it's got quite a large barrel. Can I clean it up? And the answer was yes. All I did was run a thin bit of this filler across the seam, all the way down very lightly through the barrel, and then used a soft Tamiya sanding pad, which is basically this. And because it conforms perfectly to the curve, and kept going back and forward like this, and back and forward like that. And doing it generally all the way around, and not sticking just to doing the top and the bottom, because I think that's when you get the ridges, is when you do top and bottom, flat spots as I like to call them. But yep, really happy with the barrel, and it kept that quite light then, along with the brass bit on the ends, which was nice. So I'm really pleased with that way that the brass barrel. I'll get a close up of that bit later on, but you can see that's quite nice. This comes off still. Whoops, there you go. And so that bit on the engine deck comes off. And I just put it up there to show the sort of size of the vehicle's going to be. There we go. Oh, it goes around and clicks into place. A lot more work to be done on this, I must admit, a lot more work. Another thing I did is the brass machine gun, and I'll just pop that round there, and you can just about see that there. It's not glued in place, it's actually movable. Good thing is the weight of the barrel holds it down, and if you see a lot of Tigers, the actual gun is sitting down in that sort of position. So it's not too bad. It's brass. It was soldered, but I soldered it at the end, because what you do is you push the actual gun barrel into the tube that's on the Alba kit, Alba brass bit, and basically then all I did was run some solder around the end, and then soldered it, and it's actually perfect. And then I glued it in place with super glue. But to prevent any problems in the future, I actually put some, and it's quite a reasonably tight fit anyway. I put some micro crystal clear, the old stuff we use for putting glazes on. I'll put it over here. Run this round the back of it and just let it to let it dry. And that's it. So, and that's glued in place now. My periscope, this one goes up and down. If I pull that down, I won't push it down now anyway because it's a nice tight fit. This glacis plate is not in place, nor is this. It actually gets screwed in later on. This plate, and this clicks into place, really tight fit. So you don't do it. So it's a really nice tight fit for that. So I'll be taking this off. The reason being is as you know, I want to actually replace the fenders with a ABA set, which I've got to build, which will make this bit movable and this bit going up and down as well. So the idea is to move them. Now I was going to cut it off straight away, and I thought, no, don't do that, because what I'm going to do is, because I'm not sure how they're going to turn out. If they turn out really well, then once they're both built and they're nice and done and they look nice, then I will actually cut these bits off then, and I think that's okay. Same with the back. They get a photo etch set, and again, But the point is, again, once again, I haven't got to worry about those because they fit on, the plastic ones fit on quite nicely. You can see that's up a bit, they shouldn't have to be up a bit. There you go. So just to show you, me Autocaris 502 used to have their, basically, let's get a little pointy stick, excuse me, I'll use an orange one for the moment, because I think it shot quite nicely. Just here, now in the kit, I'll get a set of wheels out, should have got this out early. It says don't use, and I think it's the right one. You don't use A2 because obviously you want to set wheel this wheel on the outside. But of course, during most of the photographs you see of Autocaris's vehicles, apart from these late Tiger, of course, you'll find that on the mid to early productions, they actually remove 502 remove the outer front wheel to prevent the clogging of mud. And I was going to have to build that myself, and then I suddenly found A2 on the sprue, and I thought, and he said don't use in the instructions. I thought, well, I wonder what that is. Anyway, so I built the wheels up, the actual ones with the double rear wheels and the front, these ones. These wheels sets up because there's eight of them in total. But I left the front, the actual outer wheel here off the two sets of wheels for the other side as well. And then I found A2 and I put it on it, and it looks perfect for what it is. I've looked at all the photographs and you can see them outside the factory with that bit there like that, where they've got the transport wheels on. So the outer wheels taken off because of the transport system they're going to use them on put them on railway vehicles. So what I did is I drilled out the holes that were actually around the side, gave it that 3D effect, and basically my problem was solved just purely by a kit part that they say don't use. So I just come around slightly. Now you're not going to see wheels on the other side because I didn't bother just sliding them on. But there you go. I think you get a good look of what size and what she looks like. Whoops, I've just caught up on a pair of scissors back there. There you go, that's good. So there you go. Now Mr. Surfacer came the other day, so that's good. So I'm going to be doing a lot of Mr. Surfacer all over the coat to give it that rough textured look. On the turret there is a bit of rough texturing already done by Tamiya, so I should, but it'll be covered out, obliterated a little bit with Mr. Surfacer. So I'll be doing it on the back engine compartment. Underneath I'm going to do red oxide all the way around underneath. Inside the vehicle I'm going to paint black so that when you look down through the engine grills you can't see it. Now I've just noticed something else, and it was in this book, and I've got to find it. Here it is. This one, this book here. Oops, I've had it quite a long time. This one here gives you a lot of details of different years. Problem is each Tiger model seems to roll into it and cross over a little bit, so sometimes you'll get bits on one. So I don't think you're ever going to get an 100% accurate Tiger, no matter what anyone says, but you will get a near representation as you can get, and that's what I'm going for. I'm not going to be nitpicking. I'm going to go as near as I can to Autocaris's Tiger. I've got two photographs I'm going by, which is quite good. Now it's got smoke discharger here and here, and yet in that book it actually puts another one in the middle, which you can do. I may or may not do that if I could the photograph, but it's one of those things. You know, so like I said, when I say it's going to be a representation of Autocaris's tank, that's what it's going to have to be. But I'm going to get as near as I possibly can. There's a lot more photo etch I've got to do. So basically in the commander's hatch, the actual two drivers and cars, there's so much of that to do, and a lot of it's going to be soldered and then fixed into place with gator glue. So that's most probably what it will be doing, because that's quite a good glue for sticking down stuff anyway. So there you go. So this was my short update on the Tiger, 1/16 Tiger, and as I said, here's another one of those wheels for the other side. This is the front one that goes there, like you say, and the other sprocket and rear idler are actually in the spray booth area, just left on there, which will be taken off later because I need the spray booth eventually to go back in there to do some work on this. So I think it's going to come looking quite nice, and I just, by adding these two bits, it gives it that square boxy effect. And I've also got some photo etch alongside here to go for the actual side skirts. Again, if the actual ones in the kit don't, I think the photo etch will be better. But I'm gonna anytime I can use photo etch, I'm going to use it. And anytime it doesn't work, then I have to revert back to the kit part. I think that's the same as most of us anyway. So, but my soldering with the muzzle come off really well. All I can say is this part, when I opened the box, this part here, which is the turned part, it says anyway. But there you go. If I don't know if I can come nearer. I'll do a quick short video in a minute and I'll explain that in moving the desk. So, right, I'll be back in a couple of minutes, so I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Thank you very much. Here we go. Hi, I'm back. Here we go then. So this is a close-up of the instructions from Alba for the 16 L/08 photo brass piece for the actual Tamiya Tiger, and you give you an option for both the Tiger for the actual King Tiger, which is the trumpeter version, and also the Tamiya one, obviously with slight different fittings. So be very careful when you actually do that to check you've got the right fittings. Right. So, but it gives you a good idea, because once you've got the barrel complete, that bit's the same, and then these two bits here actually go onto the actual barrel. Now, what I can say to you now is I cut at least 3mm off this bit here to actually allow the fitment to be perfect with the actual, because I want the rifling, as you can see inside that bit there, you want the bit of rifling you can see in there. So what I did basically then is I actually took that off there and then skimmed it, sanded it very slowly, not on the sides but around over the curved bits, to allow that to fit nice and snug and tight. So that was okay. So nice super glue to hold that bit on. Well, here we go. But getting back to the soldering, now this bit you can't put onto that bit and then put it into place. So what I had to do is solder this part here into the actual muzzle brake itself, so pushing it through. And then what I did is I got this piece here, pushed it in through the hole, through the side brake holes, and then placed it onto that little rim, which does stick up proud over there, and then solder that in place. Once I got that done, I actually then had to solder the actual rifling, which I have just slightly peeking out. And basically what I did then is I run a bit of solder inside there, pushed that into, I got it into the position I want, then soldered that. And then the great fun bit then is to actually get this bit onto that bit. So I turned this up so it's sitting like that onto the end of the muzzle brake, sitting up proud on my trusty soldering mat. And really handy thing to have that is, because it takes the heat. And then run solder around the top bit, rim and this bit, and then place this on top of it and then soldered it. Now once I've done that, it looked a bit dark, obviously, because brass does change colour with heat. And what happened then is I had to clean it up. Now clean up on the outside with a very soft, fine sanding stick was brilliant, with the old soft sponge one, and I'll show you the one I used, because this was the one I used, the sanding stick. That one to clean it up, but I could never get inside, as you can understand by just looking at the drawing here. You'd never be able to get inside there to clean it. So what I did then is I put it into the old sonic cleaner, and like I said, I put it in there for 9 minutes, and when I looked in there, all the black bits that were inside there come off, and it was just bare metal. So I was back to where I was. The colour was, the brass was discoloured, obviously, because of the heat I've been putting through it, but at the end of the day it was good. The other bit you have to do is fold this silly little bit here and put it on the top, which I've done, and then you have to put the little folder bolt over, which I've got in a little tray, which I'm going to put on later on. I'm going to use crocodile glue for that, so that's no problem. Alligator glue, I should say, not crocodile. Well, it's very similar to animal anyway. But anyway, so that can be done, and that's finished. But that's the only bit I've got to do with that muzzle brake. So I'm really pleased how the muzzle brake turned out, and I just hope the rest of the soldering goes as well. But look, we've got a lot of finer stuff to do next. So anyway, so if I put that down next, my wrist is aching. So that's basically how I got the actual muzzle brake together using solder, because I think super glue will lose its bite over years. And here's a closer look at the wheel, which is one of the front wheels that actually you can see. Like I said, it's got this is the one that on autocarriages, when they take this is a double wheel, and then basically you've got the actual one plate that they actually screw or bolt the actual outer wheel to and take it off for bits and pieces. All the outer wheels would have been taken off a TIGER1 for rail transport. So, of course, autocarriers earlier on, they decided that it was clogging up with mud, so they decided to take the outer wheel off. On later models, it didn't seem to have a problem, because basically, if you look at a Tiger then, a later Tiger, it's more or less on transport wheels. They just got wider tracks. That's the way it looks to me anyway. So there you go. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope this was a bit more informative about how I done the thing. I would do soldering on the air, but the trouble is it would be too hard, and trying to get it to do and concentrate on what your video and soldering, it's so fiddly, so I won't do that. But soldering is pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. It's the fiddly parts that are going to be awkward, and I've got a few of those to come later on. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Happy modelling!